So today I'm going to talk to you about how to be more productive and stop feeling like you're wasting time and help you get rid of that feeling of like being lazy and not moving in the right direction. So I'm going to talk to you about overall like what I think productivity is and how you can get more out of your day. So before we begin, my name is Michael and I help young men in their early 20s start to clear up their free time and use that free time for more purposeful work like entrepreneurship. So you can check out that link in the description if you want to learn more about that. So I remember when I was younger, I would always feel like I had to be doing something at all times. And if there were any times that I was sitting still or not doing something, like I just had this feeling of guilt. Like any idle time was bad. And I kind of learned this from my dad. He taught me like you should always be doing something, no matter what. Like you should always be doing something. So I saw him do things like cutting the grass and like doing chores and like doing the laundry and shit. And I kind of had this attitude with me throughout like my life. And then I went to college and I got a job at a golf course. And like my boss at the golf course kind of had the attitude too. Like you should always be doing something, no matter what. And so I just remember like being nervous if I had like any idle time. I was like, I always got to make sure I'm doing something. I always got to make sure I'm doing something. And if I'm not, then, and my boss catches me, then he's going to perceive me as lazy. He's going to be perceive me as like a bad worker. So I always was like on edge. Like I didn't want to have any idle time. I always wanted to be doing something. And yeah, I just had this overall fear of like being perceived as lazy or being perceived as a bad worker. But what I started to realize is that productivity doesn't mean always doing something because you can be doing tasks that are actually like distractions. Like, yeah, they're technically productive in that you're doing tasks, but they're not productive in the sense that, like, they're tasks that are moving you in the right direction. So, for example, like, I could be cleaning my apartment right now and sweeping. I could take the trash out, but is that productive or is that a distraction? Because the task that I need to be doing is making this YouTube video. So that's what I started to learn is that like just because you're doing something doesn't mean it's productive. And actually, I learned that like sitting still is not a bad thing. Sitting still is actually something that makes you more productive because say you sit still for an hour a day. You might think that that's an hour where you're not doing anything. And so you're like, well, that's not productive because you're sitting still. Well, yeah, but what you're doing is clearing your mind and you're like giving yourself more bandwidth and you're giving yourself more like clarity so that when you enter your next day, you're less likely to get distracted and pulled away from being productive. And so that's mainly what I wanted to talk about is that don't feel like you always have to be doing something just to be doing something because it can you can just start to get in these random periods where you're like just doing shit and you're just like doing shit for no reason. So that's a big mindset shift for me is that every expenditure of time and energy that I do, I want to make sure there's a reason for it. And so the way I do this is, well, I was gonna give you this like action step that I thought up for this video. I haven't done it yet, but my idea is that you can write down every single task that you do in a day. Like, say for today, for example, you do every single task that you normally do. Whether it's like brushing your teeth, whether it's like cooking, try to write down every single task that you did at the end of the day and like give it a reason on like why you did it. And you might find that some of the shit that you did, there was no reason for it. So that's the goal is to, I guess a good visualization is like you have this long list of tasks that you did in a day. And say like only half of them had reasons for you doing it, then your goal is to actually cut out those other tasks. You might think like, oh, well, you're doing less. Well, that's a good thing because what you're doing is conserving your energy for things that actually matter. So the more you can take away the tasks that don't have a reason for it, the more productive you're going to be. So, yeah, that's the main point I've just been wanting to make is that just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're being productive. You can get distracted and you can do things for just like doing things' sake. So try to start stepping away from that mindset and instead start doing things for a reason, doing things for a purpose. If you're going to expend time and energy on a certain task, then there should be a reason for it. Another thing is live more routinely. Start to go to bed at the same time every night and start to get more sleep. You want to overall be more healthy. When you're healthy and you have a clear brain, then you'll be able to start recognizing like what's helpful and what are distractions. Get rid of your notifications on your phone. Like you'd be surprised at how many times you like pick up your phone just because a notification went off. Whether it's like email, which you might think is productive, but it's actually just a distraction. Like if you did that exercise and you ask yourself, why did I open the email? The reason would be because the notification went off, not because you're actually trying to like reply to someone's email. So, yeah, overall, the goal is to like stop being so distracted and understand why you're doing things and don't just do things just to do them. There should be reasons for it. And don't feel bad when you're not doing anything because what you're actually doing is conserving your energy for doing things that matter. So hopefully this makes sense and this can help you a little bit with your productivity. And yeah, check out that link in the description if you are interested in that and hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching.